NASCAR Beginner Free Series Championship to Ryan Luza. Federer is a four-time champion of the NASCAR Beginner Free iRacing Series.
This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing.
A four-race winning streak opened up the season with Michel Dudignon looking unbeatable. But having failed to top the podium since Suzuka, the Frenchman finds a charging Mick Claridge able to potentially overtake him in the points this round. Much to the fans' delight, predictability is out the window lately, and Road Atlanta doesn't look likely to embrace it. Will this Georgia track provide southern comfort to our drivers, or will they find the devil down here? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 8 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Johan Vandenveld. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Johan, I expect this track will throw a few drivers for a loop with all the elevation changes around here.
Yeah, absolutely, Joe. Every lap you drive here at Road Atlanta, you climb and descend around 80 meters or 260 feet. Now this up and down momentum combined with some very fast and sweeping corners really make the track feel like you're strapped onto a roller coaster. The track Road Atlanta was constructed almost 50 years ago and was mainly used for Can-Am races. Throughout the years it attracted numerous other racing series like Petit Le Mans and Camel GT, and funnily enough even in oval racing Road Atlanta holds a special place because the first road race in what is now the NASCAR Xfinity series was held here in 1986. Now the track in the Lotus 49 today, I would describe it as very punishing. Making a mistake will more than likely finish your race, as difficult curbstones and greedy gravel traps are waiting to punish any driver who visits them. Overtaking will be easier compared to some of the other tracks we visited recently, so look for drivers getting a good run through turn 7 to try and overtake going onto the back straight or the following chicane. It's almost time for quali, but before we go to this, let's take a look first on how the track is from on board the car. So strap in our GSRC Lotus 49 as we take you for a spin around Road Atlanta.
Alright, we've got Billy Bob right in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Road Atlanta. Coming down to turn 1, unlike most first corners, you probably won't see many passes into here. Not only is it fast, but the car can get unsteady easily and snap oversteer into the barrier. Up the hill, we now approach turn 3, which is incredibly tricky with its curved braking and completely blind apex. Finding the power coming out of here will also prove difficult because of the way turn 4 winds its way out of there. Then you dive down the valley through the S's, where you certainly won't be able to hold it flat out. It takes you into the awkward braking for 5. There's so many ways you can get this quarter wrong, so don't be surprised if more than a few drivers spin or end their race at this bend. Bleed onto the throttle, and finally you get a short breather on your way down to 6. You might see passes into here, but there's a fair bit of banking, so this is a swifter corner than you'd expect. There's no rest before 7 though, which is easily the most important corner of the track. It takes you onto the long backstretch where it's critical that you get yourself a good launch. This run down to the chicane will definitely be the most popular for overtakes, but it has its own hidden dangers. The lack of downforce on the 49 makes some of the crests and kinks rather sketchy. Even this last arc to the right needs a slight lift to keep the car settled. Down into the chicane, side-by-side racing happens through this left-right pretty often, but it's usually the driver who can find the power quickly and smoothly coming off that wins out. That can be tough with the crest under the Suzuki Bridge. Finally, you've got a big lift coming through the final turn, and hopefully you've now finished a lap around Road Atlanta.
Here you see a lap around Road Atlanta, up and down the hills. As we get ready to take a look at qualifying first, we've got to go through the championship points. Boy, I didn't think we'd be here a few races ago, but taking a look at the gaps between Michelle and Mick, only 5 points now. Some of that helped by the drop weeks, of course. Now, Dave Price is a little ways back. Not impossible, but Dave has not had the legs on both Michelle and Mick all season long so far. Billy Bob Wright a little bit farther back and forth. In fact, nobody changed last round at all. You can see Gary Teal also stays put well back 90 points, despite having a win this season. Johan, we've got the F2 championship. What has that done lately?
Yeah, well, you were talking about Michel Dulillon basically being caught up by McLaren at this point of the championship, but the same cannot be said for the leader in the Formula 2 championship, because look at David Rossi. He currently has a 44-point gap to Hideki Koifisto, and looking at the last 4 or 5 races, he is really running away with it. Hideki Koifisto, Andrew Eng, Donkoot, luckily those drivers are still closed up a little bit together for the final remaining podium positions. But also Robert Reynolds, currently sitting in P5, he isn't sure there because he has 2 drivers in the form of Francisco Gutierrez and Alex Cameron breathing hot air down his neck. So David Rossi is on top, but behind him it's very exciting still.
Now, let's take a look at the Constructors' Championship, and you can see the UK is now not only above France, but also the United States has surpassed both Dudignon and Boscas, who have contributed down there in 3rd. Finland sits in 4th right now. They continue to climb and prove themselves in this series, so I'm having to eat my words lately that the Finns have stepped up, in fact, in the Lotus 49 and found themselves some legs. Australia now sits in 5th out of those top 5. What about the race details? Johan, what do we have in store down in Georgia?
Yeah, really quickly, the race here today in Road Atlanta is round 8 of our 12-round championship. You see 2 watermarks means that there's 2 drop leads, so the 2 worst results of each driver will be removed from their championship competition. The race distance today, 25 laps. The drivers have open setups, so they can change it just to the liking to basically defeat this Atlantean roller coaster, and the points pay out to 25th position.
Now, this is not the only vintage series you can find on the iRacing Esports Network. We also have Camel GT a little bit later today. And on top of that, you can catch all the World Championship series on IESN. So knowing that, we highly encourage you to subscribe. There is a big red button that says subscribe here on their YouTube page. If you click that, you won't miss a moment here on IESN. Qualifying is underway, as we mentioned, and right now at the top of the sheets, it is Michel Dudignon, but it's not Mick on the front row with him. It's Ove Trangrade finding his way back up to the top, and it is less than a tenth between those first 2, and I think they both completed their laps, so they are not going to do any better than that. Trying to see who else is actually left to qualify. A very short lap round here, Johan, and I think nobody in the top 10 right now.
Well, Marco Kika here, we have him on screen at the moment. Marco is currently sitting P7. He is currently coming through the final part of the track. Coming through the last corner now, swinging onto the start-finish straight. He had an 18.4 as his quickest lap time. This time around, I think he had an off-track because that lap wasn't counted. So the Finnish driver stays P7 for now. But very interesting, as you can see on top of the screen as we go on board with Roman Pavlovsky, is Michel Dudignon basically and McLaren being split by Ove Trangrade. The Norwegian driver won 0.5 of a second in the second qualifying lap. And that really gave him the momentum, the opportunity that he needed to put himself on the front row. So really impressive lap from Ove Trangrade, who we haven't seen fighting for the top positions that much this season, but is looking very feisty indeed here at Road Atlanta.
It seems like those 1Xs is a problem for a number of drivers. Mick Claridge didn't get his second lap in, and let's see, it looks like Rob Olenek had a 1X on both laps he's reporting. So this is going to be a fascinating one with a lot of drivers out of position potentially. We're watching Matt Wright currently as he sits in 13th, and that last lap for him, a 1:18.8, bumps him up to 9th.
Yeah, very good lap time there from Matt Wright in the second lap time. But what you say, Rob Olenek, that is probably the biggest upset that we've seen so far in qualifying. He is, of course, one of the drivers that we saw battling so hard for podium position last time around in Donington. This race, however, he has to start from the back of the grid. Now, of course, this track, Road Atlanta, it's not the most difficult track to make a passing opportunity, but still it is not easy in this Lotus 49 to see Rob Olenek having to battle his way through the whole grid. That's going to be certainly the driver to watch today.
Absolutely. Juan Lopez comes across. That's his first timed lap, and I don't think he'll have enough time to get the second one in. And that puts him last of the cars to get a lap in. Stéphane Lemaire has both of his in, so he's basically just warming up at this point. And I think that is everybody out on track, actually, that's able to get a lap in. Checking.
Gary Anderson, currently, he's driving a P20. He's blinking a little bit, so it might be that if we look at him, he blinks away slightly. He's coming over the start-finish. He blinks away as he's going over the grass, though, in that little kink on the back straight. So that's not going to count. That's going to count as an off-track, so he will not get an opportunity to improve his starting position, which was currently P20.
And he is indeed the last of the cars out there able to complete a lap with 16 seconds left. Everyone else has got their 2 in. Well, I think we're setting ourselves up for a fascinating race, as well as not only who can keep it on track, but who can climb through the field. Let's go through your starting order. Michel Dudignon puts it on the pole once again. Can he get this championship back on track? Ove Trangrade's going to try to stop him from second place. Mick Claridge is in P3. Then we've got Billy Bob Wright with an excellent qualifying starting 4th. Roman Pavlovsky starts P5. Gary Teal starts from 6th with Marco Kika putting a great effort starting P7. Bruce Nelson starts from 8th, and then 9th will be Matt Wright. Tommy Unhola rounds out our top 10.
Daniel Cedro is the first driver outside of it. He starts the race in P11. He's being flanked by Philippe Urquhart. Scott Velez can be found in P13. Next to him is Grand Prix. Hideki Kokisto P2 in the F2 category. He starts racing P15 just in front of Andrew Ng. Stefan Lemaire, we saw him with the 121.0. He starts racing 17th just in front of Andres Bruno. The last row in the top 20 is being filled by Brad Fendley and Gary Anderson. Juan Lopez is the last driver with a qualifying time. He starts the race in 21st position. And 3 drivers didn't manage to set a qualifying time. Those are Rob Olenek in P22, Dom Good and Robert Reynolds rounding out the field.
See the cars starting to grid up now, just waiting for a last few to get out there. This is round 8 at Road Atlanta here in the Grand Prix Legends Series. It's been a while since these cars have raced at this track. We'll see how they can handle it today, especially some of the very difficult braking zones and the starting grid. Johan was pointing out they're going to have to deal with a curve, which is not easy in the low gears in this car. Getting off the line, and hopefully we won't see anybody spin out because of it. As just waiting on Brad Fendley now to get out there on the grid. The last few seconds ticking down. I think he's going to be taking a start. Nope, he is going to take it out to the grid, it looks like. So the engines start to rev. The lights come up. Green flag is out here at Road Atlanta, and it looks like Billy Bob Wright has a horrible start back there and forth, already being overtaken by Roman Pawlowski, and they're looking at 3 wide down into turn 1. Looks like they're going to get it sorted out as everybody else streams in behind them, and turn 1 looks safe so far. Now they head to the tricky turn 3.
But hear the music, the accordion is playing in turn 3. We see a little contact between Unhola. Also further down back of the field, Stefan Lemaire got all out of shape, but none of the drivers actually spin around. Most of them keep it mostly in a straight line. No cars with damage as well as they go single file through turn 5.
Oof, that could have been so much worse. Credit to all the drivers for keeping it together, especially with open wheel cars making contact. But already they're hitting the backstretch out of turn 7. This is that critical corner that Johan mentioned. As they come down and start to pick up speed. Johan, one of the things that I always feared when I raced this track in this car is the way that it gets so loose over these crests.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially in these cars, it's going to be even more of a handful. We saw Gary Anderson on top of the screen just blinking out, but also going over the grass between turn 6 and 7. He fell down the order several places. In the meantime, I'm taking a look at Rob Olenek, because he, of course, didn't have a qualifying time. He is fighting his way forward very quickly. Started in P22, currently driving in P14. Great first lap from Rob.
Seven positions in the first lap. That is incredible from Rob. We're going to have to go find a replay of that at some point, because that is immense. And Matt Wright's had a problem. He's off in turn 1. He's being joined by, who is that? Grant Patullo, also almost spinning through that first corner. Let's take a look and see what happened to Wright, because I completely missed what happened to him. Looks like he spun it on his own. Here we've got the replay here. Ooh, snapped under braking.
Yeah, it's not loose. We saw in practice several drivers spin there as well, but mostly because they tried to take the corner as wide as possible and just braked on the grass. Matt Wright, however, just looped it around by braking it on his own. However, up front, it's still Michel de Jong leading in front of Mick Claridge. Mick Claridge is having a good run, however, out of over the back straight. He's getting very close to the chicane, but cannot put his side-by-side sliding through it now. Ooh, the Brit is looking very feisty, but it's well over track rate, Joe. I don't remember over track rate being this involved in the battle between Michel de Jong and Mick Claridge in the last 3 races. He is looking really good indeed, as well as Roman Pawlowski, who's being followed by Billy Bob Wright, and then slowly a gap is starting to form with Gary Thiel in P6, who cannot follow the speed that the top 5 is currently showing.
Yeah, I'd say that Mick is hustling that car, and just a reminder that he started in 3rd, so he managed to overtake Ove somewhere around that first lap. So we go back to 10th, taking a look at the train of cars here. This is being led by Unhola ahead of Sadro, Urquhart, Olenek, who's already up to 12th, and then Scott Velez at the back of these 5. I have a feeling we're in for a show. Already getting one right there. Rob Olenek going to stream out of turn 5 past Philippe, and he's now up to 11th. I think we might see one more gone down the backstretch, depending on how he gets off turn 7 here.
He looks very clinical through that corner though, but also a little bit slow compared to Daniel Sadler in front of him. He had a great run and immediately won a few car lengths. Now of course you go up the hill here in this area of the circuit, so drafting will help you a little bit more, but the gap between Rob Olenek and Sadler is a little bit too big to try and move. At the same time, Hola is being put under pressure by Daniel Sadler, and that battle for P9 will certainly help Rob Olenek just to close down the gap and really keep up with them. Daniel Sadler again very loose. We talked about it over the crest once, twice, 3 times, sliding around 4 times now. Rob Olenek getting very close there, cannot put it side by side.
Wow, searching.
Yeah, struggling with the car at the moment.
Searching for the grip for sure. And despite all that, Olenek still stuck behind him. Such is the difficulty in some portions of this track to try and overtake. He gets right underneath the gearbox through 3 as we ride on his nose now. Rob having to stay behind him through the S's up towards turn 5. This is where he made his last pass, getting the power down off and over the crest. And once again, Sadro just can't find the throttle. And that's going to open up the door. Rob Olenek now finds himself within the top 10.
Interesting, because I thought that most of the overtakes would actually happen going into the chicane. Basically, you had a good run out of here, you need, and then make the overtake on the back straight. But just the clinical way, the very good way that Rob Olenek is taking that turn 5 corner, he is able to set himself up every time for turn 6 in the last few laps by just being more clean, having more momentum, and just getting the overtaking maneuver, even though the straight is way shorter.
Down in 14th, Hideki Koivisto in a bit of a battle. This is Matt Wright looking to the inside. Remember, Wright had an error in turn 1 early in the race, makes that one look easy. Behind them, that's Stefan Lemaire, who got away with a little bit of contact in turn 3 on lap 1. Now hounded behind Koivisto. Takes a little bit of a peek down the front stretch towards turn 1. Tries to outbrake him. He's given space. That's 2 positions and 3 corners. Koivisto tumbling down the order, unfortunately.
Ooh, Stefan Lemaire immediately gets very, very loose there in turn 3. Has to go over the grass. Saves it though, but lose position to Koivisto, to Dungood. Andrew Eng behind him also getting by. Stefan Lemaire, after that overtake, immediately loses 3 positions by getting very loose going into turn 3.
Number 17 discovering how tough it is to try and break in a curved line up towards one of these turns. Meanwhile, Rob Olenek already working on Unhola. That train of 5 has been disposed of incredibly quickly. He gets side by side, and as they plunge down the hill towards the chicane, he is already well past in the braking. It looks like Unhola takes a small peek down into the chicane, but there's nothing doing there. Olenek now up to 9th.
Great overtake from Rob Olenek, but also really interesting to see the hands of Tommy working as he was going through that kink on the back straight, because he was having the outside line, and because he had the outside line, he was almost losing control of the car, had to save it, lost momentum, and that was also load for Rob. Rob, who's currently sitting in P9 now, not that far behind Rob Snelson. I'm wondering, Joe, how far can Rob go? Because he already gained 13 positions in the first 6 laps of the race. He's really making short work of the people.
Ooh, look at this battle for the lead, though. Claridge looking to the inside of turn 6. He can't get it done. Michel Dudillon chops him off down at the apex. But this car of the Brit is all over the place. That's the second time that we've seen him absolutely slide it through a corner. And somehow in all this, train grade is not all over the back of these two. Would have thought that he'd be right up on the gearbox of the number 2 car.
Over train grade saw what happened last time around in Darlington. He's just eating popcorn and waiting for what's going to happen. But at the meantime, Nick Claridge is just way quicker than Michel Dudillon. And to be honest, looking at the practice times earlier today, I would have suspected the Frenchman driving away from it. Of course, the weather has just changed a little bit. We can see cloud cover has visited the circuit. The current track temperature is only 27 degrees Celsius, 80 degrees Fahrenheit, as you see. So it's still a little bit warm. Let's see how this will affect. Oh, Nick Claridge there, making a mistake in turn 3. That actually might have been a slowdown penalty. As we go to P9, the battle of Olenek and Tommy Unhola is heating up again.
Oh, they almost come together as Olenek goes a little bit too hot into the corner. All that progress gets thrown away. He collects the car before it runs into the wall, but 3, 4 cars go by. He's back down to 13th already. Well, it could only work for so long, but that's the first time we've seen him make an attempt at a pass that was throughout braking, and it didn't seem to go well.
And why did it happen? It was because Rob Olenek had a cut course penalty. He cut the course in the chicane on the end of the back straight, as we can see him here losing control in turn 3 and going for a spin. He lost control in the chicane at the end of the back straight, had to lose a lot of time, and because of that he was overtaken again by Tommy and Hola. He really tried to save that position by the overtake. That spun him around.
Oh, what a shame for Rob. You can see that number 3 on his car. He really was meant to be much higher up. Now, in the meantime, we don't need a replay, but Roman Pawlowski pulled the car off and then parked it. And right now, actually, Rob Olenek making positions up already. He's up to 11th just since that replay. That's 2 positions. Boy, this guy is not letting anything hold him back. And looks like Pawlowski has taken a tow and is now in the pits. I'm not sure what's going on there. Grant Petullo is the only other one who has had a DNF today. We've still got 22 cars out on track.
For the lead, however, Mick Claridge is extremely close to Michel de Leon coming out of turn 7. He has a great run over the back straight now. Really in the draft, they just passed some lap traffic in the form of Robert Reynolds. That meant that Michel de Leon had to take a wider line, and that's hurting him now on the inside. It is Mick Claridge. He's past him now, going to the braking zone. He brakes a little bit late. If he can get it slowed down on time, he has P1. That is Mick Claridge getting the lead here at Road Atlanta, passing Michel de Leon for the lead.
Made Michel Dudignan look like he was standing still. Did he lift or let him by, or what happened there?
I think that Michel de Leon, maybe you can go to a replay of that, had to take a slightly wider line through turn 7, and that wider line was just losing the momentum that he needed to get a good exit there. Let's take a replay at that and see what exactly happened and what my initial thought was, if it's actually correct, because you can see them here passing on the inside. This is really past that, but basically they passed Robert Reynolds. Michel de Leon had a wider line, lost momentum because of that, and Mick Claridge, that was what he needed to get by.
Well, your one assessment about Mick being faster seems to be coming true, because Michel is not exactly on top of him right now. He's still chasing, but it's looking like Mick is inching away bit by bit. We're not even halfway through this race. This bodes very well for Mick's championship hopes. I believe if they finish where they are now, it will tie things up between the two.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a very important overtake that Mick just made. Almost Michel gets very loose. He actually spins it around. The Frenchman can avoid the wall, but this will cost him several positions as he has to back up to get it going again. Where's the rest of the field? Is Billy Bob Wright getting by him? Sure. Gary Thiel also getting by him now. Over the crest, let's see, Grand Prix now Marco Kikas a little bit too far behind. That's P5 for Michel de Leon, losing several positions with that spin.
A flawless start to the season for the Frenchman, and suddenly it's like he can't avoid mistakes. The rear of the car coming around into the chicane, can't stop the spin, and then like you said, look at all the time he loses waiting for cars to go by and have a safe re-entry. He's going to have a lot of work to do. As we come back live, Claridge just set the fastest lap once again last time by. Ove Trangrade is keeping him honest. We should say all this time focused on Mick and Michel. We haven't really seen that the Norwegian has still been in the game.
Absolutely, but I think that Mick Claridge at this point of the race can just calm it down, make sure that he doesn't make any mistakes and really consolidate that lead, because if he finishes where he currently is, it will be the first time this season that we have someone else than Michel de Leon leading the championship. Mick Claridge getting that position. Now in the meantime, there's a battle heating up for P8. Tommy and Hola and Scott Velez coming out of turn 7 now over the back straight. You can see Scott Velez, the Canadian, setting himself up for an overtake. On the inside, Tommy is on the outside. Last time around with Scott Velez hitting the grass there, got a little bit loose, and that hurt him. He had the inside line, but he slightly touched the grass on the inside, and that cost him the momentum. Rob Olenek behind him is having a sniff there, side by side, over the crest here, over the hill, the highest point of the track, going towards the last corner. Rob Olenek is looking left and right to find a way past. Scott Velez getting really bogged down. Daniel Sadro 3 wide over the start-finish straight, almost going into turn 1.
Rob just wants to get through this mess, and he's trying his hardest, but can't get the power down out of the inside of turn 1. It switches back into 3. He gets back in line. What a battle we saw between Velez and Unhola there. Incredible control from both of them. Meanwhile, plugged up behind them, the Tiger car of Rob Olenek, still searching to recover, not just from a bad qualifying, but from his own errors. He's stuck in 10th and just going to have to wait.
They get another opportunity though, as they come out of the final corner, as we are seeing here. It's still Tommy Unhola out of it first. Scott Velez this time around is a little bit further. Daniel Sadro is losing a little bit of track position as well, but as they get towards the chicane, it's the draft that's playing factor. Rob Olenek is gaining a lot, taking a look inside of Scott Velez. Scott Velez stays on the outside as Unhola is slightly defending. Scott Velez stays on the outside, and that's a position gained again for Rob Olenek. He will now try to put more pressure on the thing in front of him.
Oof, Rob Olenek threw out the anchor and somehow got that car rode up. But now Unhola has a mirror full of orange and black as they head through turn 1. This was the site of Olenek having problems and nearly losing the car up into turn 3. So he waits it out this time. But you can see how close that he's getting to the back of the fin. Plunging down through the valley of the S's. And he's been very good off of turn 5. Could he potentially make the overtake out of here? Tommy's a little bit too wise for that.
Almost. No, he cannot save it. Rob Olenek flips his car there on the outside of turn 5, where we saw him being so good several times in the race. This time around, it's a little bit too much risk that he takes going over the crest here on the exit of turn 5. He's mentioned it before, car gets loose. He saves it once, he saves it twice, but the third tank slapper he cannot save. Hard into the wall and flips it.
Wow. That corner really needs a name of some sort. I've seen it take so many cars, and that is certainly one of the more spectacular ones over the years. We've come back to the battle for the lead. Trangerade and his purple machine has closed up on the back of Mick Claridge. And I'm a little bit surprised here. I thought that Ove wouldn't have this sort of pace unless Mick made a mistake that we missed somewhere, because he's chopped it down from a little over a second to now about half a second and is putting the pressure on.
The last 3 laps, Mick Claridge just cannot find consistency. He's hovering around the 180 per lap. Now that's still extremely quick, but if you compare it to over Trangerade, he's doing 117.5 consistently. So the Norwegian just seems to have found a little bit more pace at this point of the race. The track temperature is heating up. Now the sun is back. It's currently 29 degrees Celsius, a little bit above 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's really helping the Norwegian a bit. In the meantime, we don't have to go for him, but Michel Dudion has found his way past Gary Thiel. So the Frenchman is currently back in P4, and he's closing down the gap to Billy Bob Light, who's currently in the last podium position.
Yeah, poor Billy Bob's been a little bit in no man's land, but he's going to get some company soon. He's dealing with lap traffic. Michel Dudignon now close to a second behind. There you see the number 10 of the Floridian as he comes up the hill towards turn 3. I have a feeling that he'll not be able to hold Michel back very hard, but Billy Bob knows how to defend. He knows how to fight. We'll see what kind of mood he's in today. We're now past halfway through the race.
And before that battle will heat up between Billy Bob Wright and Michel Dudillon, let's hop back quickly to the battle for P8. Tommy Miko and Hola is still put under pressure by the drivers that we saw. Rob Olenek is gone, but Scott Velez and Daniel Sadro are still there. Philippe Urquhart last time around was also there, but he has lost a little bit of time last time around. They're encountering some lap traffic in the form of Grand Prix in front of them. He's currently driving 1 lap down in 23rd position. So coming around turn 6. We've seen it several times, and this is one of the points that Tommy is being put under pressure. The exit of turn 7 going towards the chicane, but the traffic of Grand Prix is helping Tommy here a little bit. He can get a good run out of that and maybe break the draft a little bit to Scott Velez.
I'll stream around the lap car. Great job, Frank Patullo, to let everyone through here at this point. He's the last car running on track. He did go into the pits for a while, but came back out. I tell you what, though, it's fascinating to see that this train split up when Olenek came through the first time, and now it's all back together, and it's all the same cars, I'm pretty sure. So you talked about accordions before. These drivers certainly find themselves making a little bit of music here today. And did Quiviso have a problem?
I don't know about Quiviso, but in the meantime, Michel Dudillon has gotten P3. He has found his way past Billy Bob Wright. Billy Bob Wright had a horrible last corner last time around. Hit the grass a little bit, got sideways. That was all the momentum that Michel Dudillon needed to find a way past the American.
Looks like we got it on a replay right here. Ooh, this is certainly not a place you want to get into the grass.
No, but great save from Billy Bob Wright to not spin it around and ruin both their races. He at least kept it in a straight line. Unlucky for the Floridian that he lost that podium position. But he still has a few off Michel Dudillon in front of him. Michel Dudillon currently is sitting, however, 12 seconds back over Trangerade, who has closed the gap to McLaren's down to less than 1 second.
Back in 8th, Velez had a little bit of a peek on Unhola. He got a run, but I guess his car got loose because he suddenly dropped back from the fin. The number 7 car still at the front of Velez, Sadro, and Urquhart. He is withstanding an immense amount of pressure so far this race, which we've seen Tommy do before. He's been getting a lot of good training in that realm.
He's reading the cork on the champagne bottle, and the bottle is being shaken and shaken, and he's just waiting to see how strong that cork is on top of the bottle, because behind him the battle is heating up. Daniel Sandro this time around taking a look on the inside of Scott Flessie. SS cannot make it stick, and like you said, Philippe Urquhart just closing down the gap to the drivers in front of him because of this battle. This time around going to turn 5 is Daniel Sandro going very wide. Losing track position immediately to Velez, and that might give Urquhart an opportunity to get himself back into the top 10.
Boy, Tommy is definitely hustling the car, though, because we saw him out of 5 get a little squirm on the power, trying to get away from the likes of Velez. Once again, stays close down the backstretch, but the draft, as powerful as it can be in this car at high speeds, doesn't seem to be helping enough for Scott to be able to have a go down to the chicane. He takes a peek anyways. Tommy's not falling for that one. He chops him off at the apex, weaves it through the chicane, and completes yet another lap here at Road Atlanta. Battle for the lead now heating up, though. Ove Trangrade has it down to 0.4 of a second. He has been working hard, and I don't think they need to worry about Michel Dudillon. They need to worry about traffic now. That is Juan Lopez, one of our newcomers, trying to pull out of the way. Dutifully gets off to the side for them. Then, of course, Andre Bruno on the backstretch, pulling off to the right. So Mick Claridge hurts slightly, but doesn't offer Ove quite the chance that he wanted.
Less than 0.3 of a second though as they're coming up the chicane. Can Ove Trangerade take a look on the inside? Maybe the little dive bomb there. He stays single file though this time around. He needs a good run through this section of corners over the crest here to maybe take a look on the inside of turn 1. It seemed like Mick Claridge was a little bit sliding there going over the crest. Keeps it going straight though with a lot of momentum through the final corner. It's still the same way around. Ove Trangerade isn't close enough, so he has to follow for another time. But the Norwegian has now consistently brought down the gap to under a second, maybe to under half a second. He's really putting the pressure on Mick Claridge now, so we might actually not see Michel or Mick winning here in Road Atlanta.
And we need to point out that there have been only 3 winners so far this season. Mick Claridge has won twice, Gary Thiel has won 1, and Michel has got 4 to his name so far here in 2019. So could we see a 4th different winner with Ove Trangerade? Well, we'll find out in 8 laps, I suppose. Michel Dudillon trying his hardest to run them down, but he certainly doesn't look likely to do it unless these two start fighting a whole hell of a lot. Backstretch once again as we ride on board with Ove Trangerade, the Scandinavian, staying in the tire tracks of the Brit. And credit to Mick, he has been managing to hold him back so far. He's as close as Ove's been getting. It's like Mick's been just holding him at arm's length.
in control of the situation. It seems like McLaren is. However, I think outside of his control is the lap traffic in front of him. Brad Fenley, oh, very good from Brad, just taking the outside line in turn 1. That lets both Mick and Over get past very easily as they get towards turn 3. This time around, like you said, Over Triangulate seems to have lost around 1 car length compared to where it was last time around, but there's a lot of traffic in front of them. Gary Anderson is currently the driver just in front of this pair. He isn't that far ahead either. He immediately stops on the inside of turn 5. That lets both of them past. But this lap traffic might actually play a factor, Joe, because there's a lot of cars in front of them that are just slow enough that it might be reeled in before the race is over.
You know, we usually talk about mixed class racing around here and how much the traffic can be a problem. Well, it looks like despite it not being an incredibly huge field, it's enough cars that it has been wreaking havoc with this battle. So they split up for a little bit. So let's jump back down to 10th because we've got Daniel Sadro and Philippe Urquhart, who seem to have lost touch with the likes of Unhola and Velez, and instead are working on a battle of their own. They come up through 6th. That is Urquhart, you can see behind in the green and yellow. And up ahead, that is Sadro.
The interesting thing with Tommy is that he actually found a lot of speed, so not only is he looking back to try and keep Scott Velez and the rest of the competitors behind him. Scott Velez is getting a very good run now out of over the back straight, but he's going to the chicane once again, taking a little looking inside, and once again Tommy doesn't get bothered by it. He just stays in front to cut him off. But Tommy has found speed and he's actually closing down the gap to Bruce Snelson in front of him, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Finnish driver actually takes a look for P7 and includes Bruce in the battle.
When Scott dropped back, and did he cut the course or did he just spin his wheels? Let's find out. Up and over the crest. Woo-hoo! Oh, that was all sorts of sideways.
Wow.
Great job on him to collect that.
Luckily for him, Daniel Sedler was a little bit too far behind to try and capitalize on that and get by him, so he can just consolidate that spin or half spin and just try to close down the gap towards Unhola again, who last time around gained around 1/10 of a second to Bruce Snelson. So that battle is heating up as well. Meanwhile, up front, Mick Claridge is still being reeled in by Over Triangulate. The gap is roughly around where it was last time around. Going over start finish, it's a half a second between the two. In the meantime, Michel Dumillon cannot close down the gap, however, to Mick and Over Triangulate. It's still around 12.5 seconds. The French driver just seems to be driving away from Billy Bob Wright and having to settle for P3 here.
And I don't think Billy Bob's too surprised about that one. He knows Michel well enough that he'll be hard-pressed to try and keep pace with the number 1 machine. Still, I'm sure he'll be happy with a 4th place. The battle for the lead coming up on some more traffic now. Stefan Lemaire pulls off in a very good spot. They catch him on the backstretch, so that'll be very handy for them. But up next, they've also got Hideki Koivisto. And I don't think they're going to catch him on the backstretch. This could prove a problem here in the first half of the course.
And of course, Hideki Koivisto is battling with Stefan Lemaire for P15, I think it is. It might be that Hideki Koivisto opts out for a move or a position where he lets the 2 leaders by, where it doesn't cost him a lot of time. In the meantime, I was talking a few laps ago about Mick Claridge driving around consistently, basically around the 18.0. He has really picked up the pace with lap times that are now consistently quicker than 1:17.5 seconds. Quite a bit quicker than Hideki Koivisto. So the British driver, he is putting down the hammer. He is being able to find more speed in his Lotus 49.
In 8th position, it's awful close once again. And Tommy Unhola and Scott Velez find themselves fighting along with the likes of Bruce Snelson. They've run him down. This is effectively for 7th, and it's a 3-car fight. They cross the line to complete another lap. Those are ticking down, though, and running out of opportunities. We might see some aggressive moves here in the final stages. Up around turn 3 over the blind crest. Nelson collects himself and starts to pull away a little bit. A little error is only what cost him some time. Oh, Don Good has had a big problem. I think he's managed not to hit anything. This is in the chicane, and he gets it going once again.
Basically the same what Michel Dunian had earlier in the race, just spinning it around. Luckily for him, he didn't hit the wall as well. He lost quite a bit of time. Don Good is driving around in P15. He is one of the drivers being one lap down in this position. And with that spin, he lost the position to Hideki Corfisto. But he's still in front of Stefan Lemaire, so he's really right in that battle now for P14.
That was Andrew Ang that we saw having the sneak by.
Don Good got spun into the wall just now by Stefan Lemaire. Stefan Lemaire got really close up to him on the exit of turn 3, and I don't think Stefan expected Don to be a little bit slower there. And he spun Don around hard into the tire barrier. You can see him on screen having a little bit of damage. So we go to a replay of that incident. Yeah, Don is struggling with his car now. I think that he might have damaged, and that race is over. We can actually go to replay of the incident. You see Don Good going through turn 3 here, just getting completely bogged down, spun around by Stefan Lemaire, and then hard sent into the wall.
Oh, that is such a shame. So close to the checkered flag. Knowing Don, he probably would have liked to have been able to take it to the end. And maybe he will still try to do that as we watch the replay from on board the Frenchman. Yeah, he was following at a good pace, and I think you're right. It was unexpected. So I don't put the blame on Stefan there. Up at the front, 0.3 of a second separate Claridge and Trangrade with 2 laps to go now. How desperate is Ove? I don't believe he is in the championship fight, so at this point, as far as I can tell, the win is all that matters to the Norwegian.
Yeah, absolutely. If I was over Trangrade, I would want that win. I would be able to show to myself that I'm quicker than Claridge, the championship leader after this race, which you cannot beat him in a one-to-one battle. This is probably one of the best opportunities that he has. He needs to be very smooth here through turn 6 and through turn 7. Set himself up. There's no lap traffic near them. Juan Lopez is around half the back straightaway. He will not play a factor here. Ovi Trangrade is having a good run, around 3-4 car lengths between the two. He is not opting for the draft at the moment, as McLaren is just swerving a little bit left-right to try and break it. Ovi Trangrade is very quick through the kink here, close enough to maybe take a look on the inside. It stays there. Single foul. He wants to stay close, but doesn't want to try and overtake Move yet.
Trangrade's missed 3 races this season, so at this point, it is now for pride and fun. Mick Claridge, though, is in a championship fight, so he's got to think long-term. 2 drivers now on the white flag lap with different scenarios facing them. How are they going to elect to take it? Up to turn 3. Trangrade closes in. This is some of the closest we've seen him be. Around turn 4 and down into the valley of the S's. Hard to pass through here. He drops back slightly. He's got to set himself up potentially out of here. I don't think he's quite close enough. It'll have to be maybe out of turn 7, down the back stretch into the chicane. He stays in the tire tracks of the Brit. Through turn 6 now. He starts to gain slightly through that banked corner. Up and over the crest to turn 7. He is very, very close, but he doesn't get the run off the corner. Wheel spin hampers him. That might be all she wrote. It depends on if Mick Claridge can keep it steady all the way to the checkered flag. Down the backstretch, they got a little bit of lap traffic up ahead of them. Will that come into effect? It's a newcomer, Juan Lopez. He's very slow into the chicane. And he holds up Mick Claridge coming through the second apex. Ove Trangrade knows it. He goes to the outside, tries to find the power, but he's a little bit too wide. And Mick Claridge manages to salvage it in the final corner and takes the win.
Wow, what a victory for Mick Claridge. And even Michel Dunian will come home in P3, well away from Billy Bob Bright, so he will be the final person on the podium position. In the meantime, let's go to P8 at the moment. The battle between Tommy, Scott, Bruce, Daniel Sedler, Philippe Urquhart. It has broken down a little bit. Scott Velez is now leading the battle, but Bruce Snelson is closest to Daniel Sedro. This is the battle for P7 to P10 or P11 at the moment, with Scott Velez leading. Tomo Mikonhola taking a little look on the inside, but too far away to make anything stick. They have to get through one more corner, the final corner over this crest. This Scott Velez finding his way past his rivals and finishing in front of them. P7 for Scott Velez. Tommy finishes 8th. Bruce Snelson gets overtaken twice. He finishes in front of Daniel Sedlo, however, and Philippe Urquhart rounds out that battle.
Bit of a shame that we didn't get to see Velez's overtake on Unhola. He had been working on that for a long time. That's going to be the last of our cars on the lead lap coming across. So we'll take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews. Stick around though, because on screen you're going to see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Road Atlanta. We just watched round 8 here in the Grand Prix Legends Series. Mick Claridge gets his 3rd win and now leads the points championship. Ove Trangrade followed him home. There's some debate on whether or not Trangrade lifted and let Mick take the win due to the lap traffic. These guys, gentleman racer really tends to describe them. You can't say enough to the sportsmanlike conduct that they play with each other. Michel Dudignan winds up in 3rd despite being on the pole. Billy Bob Wright with a quiet 4th, and Gary Teal gets a top 5 out there. Marco Kika finds himself in 6th with Scott Velez climbing from 13th to 7th. Tommy Unhola manages to get 8th place with Bruce Snelson, falling back to 9th, and Daniel Sadro rounds out our top 10.
The 11 goes to Philippe Urquhart, and he finishes just in front of the last driver on the lead lap, Matt Wright. Andrew Eng can be found in unlucky P13, but he gained 3 positions in this race, just in front of Hideki Koifisto. Stefan Lemaire, we saw him fighting several times on track. He comes home in P15, just in front of Brad Fenley. Grand Patulo is the first driver 2 laps down. He is found in P70, in front of Gary Anderson and Juan Lopez. Robert Reynolds closes out the top 20, and then we have a few drivers who didn't finish the race. Don Good got spun into a wall. He is classified 4 laps down in P21. Anders Bruno, we didn't see exactly what happened with him, but he comes home in P22. Rob Olenek, he looked like the hard charger today. Had a great race and great battles going through the field. And unfortunately that he lost his car on the exit of turn 5, flipped it. He's only classified in P23. And the last driver that didn't finish the race, Roman Pawlowski, he finishes in P24.
Real quick, we've got our winner ready to talk to, Mick Claridge. Mick, sure this will be good to hear, but we believe you are now the championship points leader due to that win.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that, Joe. Yeah, did that look like a nice, quiet race up front to you guys?
Not in the least. So first it was you and Michel, then a mistake from him handed it over, and suddenly you found Ove have a bit of pace behind you. Did you expect that the Norwegian would suddenly be all over you?
Do you know what? Let me take you back to Thursday quickly. Ove wasn't that fast on the Thursday race, and then obviously we're all meeting up for practice sessions in the morning here, and all of a sudden Uwe's like half a tenth slower than me. Michel was half a tenth faster than me. It was that close in practice all the way through. Then we went to another session, and we all just sped up like by about 4 tenths in the same weather, and I couldn't work out what it was. So I was just so thrown off by it all. Anyway, I ran a softer tyre pressure setup for the race just because it seemed to work in the practice session before. And I was just thinking to myself, please just let me get some pace, after about lap 3. And that's exactly what happened. I was so pleased that it happened. I thought it's either going to go wrong and I'm not going to have any grip, or I'm going to start catching, and that's what happened. So, man, I'll tell you, that's I was on my limit from the first lap to the last one.
Oh, we saw a few slides in there, so we could tell that you were pushing the car pretty hard. When was the last time that Road Atlanta was on the schedule? I was a bit surprised that I had to make a lap guide for this one. Has it been a while since we've been here?
Yeah, it's been a long time, yeah. And I was going back and looking at the lap times, and they were down in the 16s. So I think that was when the car had load of grip, So it was, I don't know, it must be 3 years ago, something like that. I'm just guessing, but it's got to be something like that.
Well, I think you guys should put it on the schedule more because it certainly gave us some good excitement. Sorry to be a little short, but we've got a lot of races to cover today. Congratulations on a win, sir.
Cheers, Joe. See you next week.
This is Mick Claridge, our winner. Up next, we've got 4th place Billy Bob Wright. Johan's talking to him.
Billy Bob, welcome to the booth. It almost seemed like you were having a very quiet race there until you were suddenly in P3 and a French driver showed up behind you.
Looks
Billy
like
Bob, do you got a copy? He seems to be muted. Seems like Billy Bob doesn't have a copy. Maybe we can speak to him later and speak in the meantime to Tommy and Holla. Oh, hey, there he is. Hey, Billy Bob. Billy, welcome to the booth. I was saying, like, it seemed like you had a really good, but also a little bit quiet race out there until suddenly Michel Dudillon showed up behind you.
Well, I can assure you guys, number one, I didn't expect a quiet race. I thought Roman and Gary and I were going to have a battle royale. I had delusions that I might actually be able to stay with those guys at the very first part of the race and hang on with them. But Roman got a great start and made it really interesting. Unfortunately, he won a rookie mistake. But really cool place for me here. I love this track. My dad raced sports cars for about 15 years, and we went there a lot. So for me, I got a lot of motivation to be here, and it showed in my lap times.
Awesome. Well, you were for sure very quick. You say that you expected a battle with Roman Pawlowski and with Gary Thiel. You must be happy to at least finish in front of both of them. Roman, of course, had some trouble because of which he retired in the race, but you beat Gary Thiel on pace alone.
Yeah, I just had a good week. I mean, I have to really have motivation to really put the effort in, and this place gives me a lot of motivation. So, like I said, it showed my lap times, and I was a little disappointed actually because I was looking forward to Rob and Gary and Roman and I really having a huge race because we've been racing each other hard all week. So, a little disappointed in that, but hey, I'm super excited about the 4th place. I think that's going to put me in good stead in the points again, and looking forward to the rest of the season so far.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Billy Bob, with P4. And we hope to see you next week in Phillip Island.
Thanks, guys. One of my favorite tracks. Looking forward to that. See you soon.
Awesome. Well, it was Billy Bob Wright qualifying in P4, finishing in P4. Now, in the meantime, Joe, you have caught up with our P8 finisher, Tommy Mikael Unhola.
Yep. Tommy, it looked like you had some good excitement all race long. Oh, obviously, you were fighting with Velez for much of the race, but were you aware of how many cars were stacked up behind him as well?
Well, yeah, there was lots of action there, and it was great fun. I didn't really know how many cars there was, but a couple times when I saw them in mirror on a hill or something, there was a kind of few cars. So, yeah, did I have a train going on there?
You did have a bit of a truly train happening, but you held it off well all the way till the final laps. Tell us about the incident between Velez, Snelson, and you, because that seemed like that was the deal breaker.
Oh yeah, it was. There was a slower car, blue flagged car, and I think he made late move or something unexpected. So Bruce took a slowdown penalty there, and I thought I don't want to attack on that, so I went bit on defense and showed to him that he can take a corner, and I might be remembering things in wrong. No, it happened after that corner we went, and yeah, Scott took me there, yes, on inside. Yeah, it was really good on the first corner, and there were really good attempts and everything on a race. So I'm a bit confused what situation was what.
I kind of don't blame you with all that you had to deal with all race long. Phillip Island is up next. You managed to top 10 today. Is more on the cards down there?
Well, I have to look at timings. I'm driving up Mount Panorama to 12 hours next week, so I'm not sure if I can make the race, but I'm going to see if someone else starts it and I can drive this. I think it's possible to do something like that. So, yeah, I'm actually really excited. I have been very busy on Saturdays, so I have missed all these races. It was actually first race of season, I think. Yeah, it was with this car, and I was so busy that I had exactly 1 hour of practice, so I was really careful today, and only plan was to keep it safe and try to be careful, and I'm not bad at defending with this car, so it was pretty fun with that. So I think I can practice more for next week and see if I can make it. Have to look. I think no, yeah, I actually guess I can make it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, we look forward to having you back. It makes it even more impressive what you did today. Well, congratulations on winding up in 8th, and can't wait to see you both at Phillip Island and Bathurst.
Yes, thank you, and see you there.
That was Tommy Unhola that we were talking to. We got to close up so that Sean can get ready for our next broadcast. We want to give a big thank you to the Lotus 49 community and to iRacing for bringing us back on the iRacing Esports Network. Again, if you can, subscribe, please, so that you can catch all the action on IESN. We want to give a big thank you to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see them listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to Eric Ekholm and June Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Johan, Sean, and Doug. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check us out on social media. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook, the Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on to our page on GSRC and click our big red subscribe button too, so that you don't miss a moment on the Global Sim Racing Channel. As we mentioned, going down to Australia for another Australian race, not just the 12 hours happening next week. That'll be Saturday, February 9th at Phillip Island at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.